Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. What's happening, man? Well, I think I'm live. Looks like I'm live. How's it going? Hope everybody's having a good Sunday. I was going to say Sunday morning, but it'd be Sunday afternoon on the East Coast. And if you're in one of them foreign lands, well, God only knows what time it is. You people and your outlandish ways. But I hope everybody's doing well today, whatever day or hour it happens to be. Yeah, I'm tired, and I'm wondering if that is going to be somehow a problem with the YouTube algorithm, which is why it's important that I pointed right to it. This is another shirt I got for my birthday. It is Gudetama, the only Sanrio character that I will willingly wear, because he's basically a tired little egg yolk who doesn't give a crap anymore. I know how he feels. So, hope everybody's doing real good out there. We're going to talk about the Masters of the Universe movie today, because I went and saw it yesterday. A lot of different things being said about it. And from what I've seen of the movie now, they're all kind of true. They really are, because it's actually two different movies that are not well molded together. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a couple other items, and we'll look at some coming attractions as I hit my desk. Turning around, I have a gout flare up going, so I'm trying to position, my foot in such a way that it's not killing me. My daughter went and saw The Sheep Detectives yesterday, which has been out for a long time. They struggled to find a theater where it was still playing, and they really, really liked it. And I gotta admit, when I saw the trailer a while back, I was kind of surprised that it didn't look like it was maybe kind of good. And apparently had a little emotional heft to it, which shows that such things can, in fact, still be done if people bother to even try. Let's see what's going on at the moment. Target is having its summer geek out for collectors, which means basically selling people all sorts of action figures. So I saw that they've dropped they've had their first drop. And I guess they drop a new bunch of figures every Friday. I don't know how long they're doing this through the summer, but, pay attention to Target on Fridays, basically. Now, the first one involves Transformers. There's an Insecticons 3-pack, a Starscream, and a Prowl. There is a Star Wars New Hope multi-pack. In other words, just Star Wars. We need to call it a New Hope. And Marvel Legends Onslaught. And a G.I. Joe classified with Ninja Force, Scarlet, and T.J. Bang. I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce that. I have no idea. I have no idea. What I do know is that if the Ninja Force has taught me anything, it is that the first rule of ninjutsu is wear the brightest day glow colors you possibly can to dazzle your enemies and therefore trick them, but also be a target from about 3 miles away for anybody who has a sight on their gun. It's so weird that they do the Ninja Force and you're like, oh, everybody's going to be wearing black and stuff. No. That was long after my time when it comes to G.I. Joes, but that's part of their first drop. So these aren't like necessarily new figures or new releases or anything. I know that Onslaught thing is from a few weeks back. But I don't know, maybe there's a better price, I'm assuming. You might want to check it out, though. If there's anything you've missed recently, you might want to take a look at it. I did want to obviously talk a little bit about Anthony Head Giles on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Just passed away this last week. apparently he had suffered a stroke recently. Of course, very sad. Born in 1954, but I mean, wasn't young, but I think he had years left in him. He was easily my favorite character on that show. I did not watch Buffy a lot. I caught it when it was first on, here and there, and rapidly learned that I do not like Joss Whedon cringe speak. It wasn't called that at the time, but sometimes it was funny, but mostly it just got on my nerves. And it's one of the main reasons I stopped watching the show was because so many of the characters got on my nerves that were key characters. But he didn't get on my nerves because he didn't really talk that way, not a lot. And it occurs to me, if you're doing that, if you're trying to imitate that humor, stop. Because imitated humor is generally not very funny. It needs to be original. It needs to come from your actual brain. If you're imitating other people doing stuff, it's generally not going to be very good. It just isn't. But if you're going to do it, you need a guy like him in it, who provides a happy relief from that kind of humor. And can be funny in its own right, obviously, but somebody with a little bit more gravitas who isn't this sort of, I don't know the best way to describe those characters other than just annoying. But yeah, I think you need somebody like him. And he was a great actor, and he did bring that kind of gravitas to the screen, to something that otherwise could have been just sort of a silly little one season wonder kind of cult show. I think he did a great job with it. Honestly, I'm trying to think. It was David Sutherland, I believe, right? In the movie, who they played him a different way and didn't provide quite that kind of steady gravitas. Fabrizio Aiello is on. Hey man, what's up? He says, afternoon. Yep, Giles made that show. I did like Buffy for a bit, but as it went on, it was obnoxious. Yeah, that was kind of the problem. I think that you could always take a little dose of that kind of writing, but it kind of wears on you over time. Like the first Avengers movie, I kind of liked. I had fun with it, and that was already with the point where I didn't really like his humor, but it kind of worked, and there were other things in it that were fun, and it was kind of new. It wore on me very quickly, and I gave up on the MCU as a result, like well before that first kind of overall phase ended with Thanos and all. I just was like, I don't care anymore. Go ahead, destroy the universe, Thanos. It's fine. In fact, I encourage you because this universe is getting on my nerves. So I didn't even finish it. But early on, it's like a little bit of it. It's like, okay, it's fine. But yeah, and then you get the people imitating it. It's like, oh God. Dude, you can't be particularly funny imitating the Marx Brothers, because the Marx Brothers, it's real, and everything else is like this kind of copy that's so, you can be inspired by stuff, like obviously, but you can't just try to do it. And that's the problem. And we will talk about that a bit with the He-Man review coming up right now, as a matter of fact. But rest in peace to Anthony Head and Godspeed. Very sad to hear that. And, I think for my generation, we're already at that point where we're losing a lot of people that we enjoyed music, movies, etc. And, time keeps rolling on. So now younger people are starting to get that as well. And it's a weird thing, because you go, I don't actually know this person. I've never met this person. If you did meet these people, maybe it was at a convention and you said hi and they signed a thing for you and you chatted for 2 seconds and then you're out of there. But you do feel like you know them. It's an odd situation to lose these folks. It's, it's a step away from family and friends and household pets, but it still has more emotional resonance than just reading about a random obituary in the paper of somebody, even though that random person you know just about as well as the actor who just passed away, because you know the character, not necessarily the actor, for most of them. All right. So yes, yesterday I went and saw The Masters of the Universe. I was waiting to hear a few early reviews from people I trusted. Is there a possibility I will like this movie, or at least not hate this movie? That's kind of what I was looking for. And there's people who have, like you trust them in as much as you know their tastes, and you know whether or not they're going to lie to you. And so even if you have different tastes, you know what theirs are, so you can kind of gauge something based on it. And I saw enough that I said, okay, I'll go take a look at this thing. Pretty empty theater. I'd say maybe 12 to 15 other people for the showing I was at, which was kind of, a little afternoon, about 1:15 or something like that in the afternoon. But the the line was huge for snacks. So I actually went completely snackless for this film because I did not want to stand there for like a half hour. Instead, I went in and I listened to a sound system that didn't work on commercials. This theater's been like this for a while too. I don't know what the deal is, but it's the sort of, it's not the commercials, it's the pre-commercials with just sort of random music playing, but the music is like, it kind of comes in and out, and you're going, this has been going on for years. Can you guys fix this? Or just turn the music off? There's no voices. It's not like an ad message. It's just background music. Very annoying. It's just fantastically annoying. Then the commercials come on, and they're even more annoying because now you have annoying commercials, but instead of it being on your TV where you can mute it, it's on a giant screen, and it is so friggin' loud that the vibrations can like loosen your molars. And you're just kind of going, I kind of think movie theaters want to die. This is annoying. Why am I sitting here for this? This is terrible. And then the previews start. The Odyssey. I'm not a particular fan of Christopher Nolan. I certainly don't blow sunshine up his ass. This looks like a 90s TV movie and not one that I would watch. It really does. I would much rather watch Hercules and Xena than this guy's take on the Odyssey. It just doesn't look good. It really does. It looked just fantastically mediocre. I'm just not a Nolan fan in the least. And this cements why I don't go to his movies. And then there was Toy Story 5, which I gotta be honest, has a good idea for the story. It's an electronic toy with a sort of AI thing recording everything kids say, and they're becoming addicted to it. And they're abandoning their toys, and that's topical, and it makes sense. And it's like the toys got to go up against the tech. And yet I'm also going, this is a movie produced by people using heavy CGI. I mean, nothing but CGI, probably using some AI in there, in all honesty, from a company that wants to sell this crap to your kids and would love to addict your children to whatever it is they're producing. So I go, Disney Pixar, are they going to actually come out against this kind of stuff in this movie? Oh, why do I have a feeling there's going to be a twist ending where it turns out the AI is okay after all? I don't know, man. I might not. I hope not. But at least it's like, it's got a point to it. I mean, that's a good story that you could actually work with, and could be good for kids of like, get off the screens, man. I mean, parents need to make that choice for them to an extent, but get away from the screens and do something actual creative and fun. And then they did the Street Fighter trailer, which I gotta admit looks like a pretty damn fun movie. That's the other movie I might go see this year. We'll see what people say. So, Masters of the Universe. To start with, this was not a property I was into as a kid. In all honesty, the cartoon looked childish to me, even when I was like a kid. And I would have been 10 years old when it came out. And compared to stuff like G.I. Joe and the Transformers, it looked kind of childish. So I never really watched it, but I did watch it later in life when I had a kid of my own and kind of discovered how bizarre it was and how much fun it could be, given all those other limitations. So I don't have like a heavy nostalgic feeling for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Didn't have the toys when I was a kid. Didn't watch the cartoon much when I was a kid. Just so everybody knows kind of where I'm coming from. Somebody who's very attached to the property from childhood could have a very different take on it than I do. I wrote notes while I was watching the movie because I'd have nobody near me. I had my phone, airplane mode. Wasn't going to make any noise. Had the light turned down, but I had my little note thing open so I could take a few notes. So first thing that came to mind. The dialogue at the beginning of the movie is not good. It's very Joss Whedon cringe speak for some of it. That might be the theme of this movie. It's like two things in one. And one of them things you don't really want. So that wasn't great. So it didn't initially, I'm like, crap. It's 2 hours and like 20 minutes, this thing, which that's a problem in and of itself. And I can tell you right now, I could have cut 20 minutes off the end of this movie, of the bad stuff, and had a better movie. And I'm an amateur who doesn't know crap, but I could have. The CGI on Cringer, right from the start, not very good. There's a couple places in it where it looks okay, but it almost looks like a throwback to like an old Barbie movie from the 2000s. It's not particularly good, and I don't particularly like the voice they gave him. It's not the dude that you kind of laughed at in the cartoons. Quite. It's a little bit that. Okay, so I'm already starting off with kind of... So we get a whole scene with little Prince Adam. He's like 10 years old. And he's going to he has to do some warrior training, which he doesn't really want to do because he's kind of small. And he says, I'm not that coordinated. And I don't do that good. And mom's like, you got to go. You got to do this. Your father wants you to do this. So his trainer is Man-at-Arms, Idris Elba, in his prime. And, Teela's there. She's a little older than he is and taller than he is and better at fighting than he is. But, I mean, it's at that age, kind of would be, because this is a little dude. I will say the kid they got playing young Prince Adam did a really good job. And you can picture him growing up to be Galatzine, if that's how you pronounce his name. I hope I'm not getting it wrong, but I'm not really sure. So good with him. I liked Idris Elba right from the start. Kind of channeling Lou Gossett Jr. a little bit, He's kind of like a drill sergeant, but some of these people are kids. Although he does thump one of the kids on the head with a stick. Because the kid's a smart ass, but he's trying to train him. And Adam's not doing that well. He's teamed up with Teela because they're friends. And King Randor shows up and he's like, watching his son kind of blow it. And he's hard on the kid, but part of that's because he is small and it's a dangerous world. And, he's got to take this stuff seriously. But there's some nice moments with Man-at-Arms and him. And this is going to be... I should do this right off the bat. There are going to be spoilers here because I can't really talk about the movie without it. I mean, I could just say I give it a C and leave it at that, but we're going to talk more about it. So good stuff right off the bat. But, and this is the problem with the film, a lot of good stuff early on. Really clunky semi-subversion of that stuff later in the film. There really is. But early on, liked Idris Elba. Liked the kid playing young Adam. So then we get the whole thing with Skeletor's attack that drives the movie, and that leads to Prince Adam being sent to Earth with the power sword for safety. Okay. Evil-Lyn was a disappointment. And I think she was written disappointingly. I don't want to put that all on the actress, although I think it's Alison Brie, I think is her name. Not the greatest line reads in the world. Kind of lacking energy, lacking menace. If you have watched the old cartoon, Evil-Lyn is the one there who's like, she's one of Skeletor's lackeys, but she's also ready to stab the guy in the back, because she has bigger ambitions about all that kind of stuff. And you don't really get that at all, which is kind of sad because I think it would have made it a much more fun character. And I was hoping they were going to give her sort of like a golden skin color, kind of like the old toy had the yellow skin. They didn't really do that. I thought some of the stuff from the trailers looked like they did, but they didn't. So she was kind of a disappointment for me. You could have probably even made the movie without her to an extent, but I really would have liked to seen her, a little bit in competition with Skeletor for, most evil character in the movie. Because it's fine having like the Beast Man and all them be kind of stupid. They were in the cartoons. But Evil-Lyn wasn't stupid. She didn't win, but she wasn't stupid. So you get the whole segment with him on Earth, living this life because he's separated from the sword in this like wormhole that takes him to Earth. And the sword is his way back. So they really don't tell you. I mean, he ends up in Oklahoma City. They don't really tell you about this kid's life. We meet him next 15 years later. So he's 25, apparently. Was he an orphan? Was he in an orphanage? Was he adopted by somebody? What? It seems like he must have been, but we have zero on did he have adopted parents? Foster homes? It's just sort of like, don't worry about that. Here he is, 25, and he works for a corporation, and he works in human resources. And they do a really nice job of making fun of corporations and of human resources. They do a really good job with that. If you ever had to work in those environments, they did a really good job making fun of that stuff. But guess what? It's going to get twisted by the end of the thing. Nice Dolph Lundgren cameo in it. But again, kind of clunky. And that's a problem with this movie is kind of clunky editing, so to speak. Not exactly editing like the physical editing of the film, but kind of like, okay, now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do this. And does it tie as well as it could have tied? Maybe not. But so you get the mockery of that. Ends up in this vintage toy store, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of cool stuff in there for all of us nerds who collect things. And I'll tell you what, at this bit, I was laughing at some stuff. I was enjoying it. I will say this, man, that Galitzine dude, charismatic. I liked him in the role. I liked him playing Adam. I liked him playing He-Man. I liked the actress, was it Camila Mendez, I think, playing Teela. I liked a few of there were a few performances I didn't care for, but I liked a bunch of them when they gave him good lines to say. When they didn't, I didn't like it as much. I said Thomas, Nicholas Galitzine. Sorry. I don't know where I got the Thomas from. I was looking at something else earlier. Anyway, but he was good. I liked him in it. I did like him in it. And so he finds the sword. That sends a signal out. Skeletor sends Beastman after him. You get a fight thing, and they escape and all this stuff. And it's maybe a little long, a little drawn out, but it's pretty good. I kind of like Beastman in it. I thought they did pretty good. And then Teela takes him to Eternia. We see how it's ruined. He's going to hook up with the Resistance and all that other stuff. We get our first, not our first, but we get a good introduction here to Skeletor. Channeling Tim Curry as the demon from Legend. But not too bad, honestly. The problem, though, with Jared Leto's Skeletor is he keeps sort of cranking it up the camp and by the time you're at the end of the movie, you're kind of like going, I think we've cranked it up to 11 now. And it started off somewhere around a 9.5, and it wasn't too bad, but you do get a thing with him like berating Beast Man. So some of that kind of cartoon stuff is in there. It's a deeper voice, but it kind of feels like the Skeletor from the cartoon, but maybe a little more theatrical, but not bad. He's actually not a detriment to the film. He isn't. But towards the end, I was kind of like going, you're chewing a little too much scenery at this point. It's a little bit too much scenery. Okay. But overall, not too bad. You get a good first transformation scene. I have the power. So I still don't like how he, reads that particular line, though. You watch the cartoon, by the power of Grayskull, and boom, I have the power. It's kind of, and it's a little shorter and clipped. But overall, good transformation scene. And we get a good fight scene. And all of a sudden, he's got the muscles, man. Now, they try to make it look like he's not that muscular when he's Prince Adam, but also that he is, because remember the cartoons where Prince Adam looks exactly like He-Man, just with a different shirt on. But there's a party kind of going like, he looks pretty friggin' stacked from the get-go. I don't think he's that weak, but he gets stronger. I mean, He-Man's basically like Superman when it comes to strength level. He's not just a really strong guy. He's, lift up mountains kind of strong. Goes into battle against Trapjaw. Good scene. It was good. I liked it. It was fun. At this point, I'm starting to enjoy the movie. Now, at this point, also, we've hooked back up with Man-at-Arms. And Man-at-Arms does go through a kind of character arc, and it makes sense for most of the movie. He was defending, he's the captain of the guard. He was defending the king and the queen. He fails. Skeletor wins early on. He fails. And that has an impact on him, and it makes sense. And it doesn't bother me when people said, oh, they made Man-at-Arms like this down and out. Oh, he's down and out for a reason. It's maybe a little bit clumsy getting him there, but it's for a reason. And his daughter has had to basically step up in his absence, and I know that can bother some people, but I think it makes sense because, look, this is the kid that he raised. She took in the lessons he taught. He has had this crisis of confidence. I sound like I'm doing that dude doing the Tom Cruise movies. He was a bartender, pretty damn good bartender, but then he had a crisis of confidence, and it took the love of a good woman. Anyway, so he has this crisis of confidence. It makes sense within the movie. It's not too clunky. It's not too screwed up. It really isn't like a girl boss scenario at first. But wait, there's more. So that was pretty good, though, overall. Good little fight scene, escape scene. You got the crazy vehicles and all this other stuff. And I'm actually enjoying this movie at this point. I like it. I'm probably giving it like 4 out of 5 stars at this point. It's a fun action-adventure movie. Some of the humor is actually hitting with me. There's a few things I'm not in love with, but overall, it's pretty darn good. Okay. And you get some decent stuff with like, Man-at-Arms and, so they make the escape and Man-at-Arms like gets back in his armor and he shaves and he's trying to pick himself up again, but he's not quite there. And there's a little bit, I think, of, Adam's transformed into He-Man, but like he doesn't necessarily have the heart of He-Man yet. He's got the powers, but he doesn't necessarily have the heart of He-Man. So there's a little bit of like, yeah, you guys look like heroes at the moment, but it takes more than that. That's good stuff. It's not bad. I don't know if they intended that or not, but I kind of picked it up from the thing. So there's some nice stuff in there. The problem with the film is that you hit that last act of the movie, and I detect a different writer in a big way. And I've looked at the writing credits and I've looked at their credits, and I think I know who the culprit might have been, but I could also be wrong about that. Maybe all of them were involved, but You had some people who were making a cool action adventure comedy kind of thing based on an old toy line. And then here comes current day. And the thing is, if you watch the old Filmation cartoon, it was all about life lessons. That's what Filmation did. They did that with Fat Albert. It's all about life lessons. The lessons are not necessarily bad. Their lessons were good, frankly. But the lessons in the movie get tangled up with collectivist, identitarian bullshit. And I think that comes from the writers. They don't know how to separate virtue from a person's genitalia. That's bad writing. It's bad philosophy. It's just bad. So that all of a sudden, you get this tonal shift where Man-at-Arms and He-Man are kind of goofballs and do some stupid things, do some things that do not jibe with what they are earlier in the movie. Adam does not enjoy working at a corporation in HR. He's kind of good at it a little bit, although you get one scene where, you know, he's talking to this woman. But all of a sudden, HR is great. I learned a lot from them. I need to apply the lessons here. What? No, it wasn't great. It wasn't great at all. And it wasn't made to look great. Man-at-Arms was a wise teacher who suffered something that screwed him up, and he's fighting his way back. And we get a line. Spoilers are on. We get one of the clunkiest, dumbest goddamn lines I think I've heard, where he tells Teela, "You're the man I wish I could have been." Whoever wrote that should get a Lifetime Razzie Achievement Award. Missed the point entirely. Here's the line, just to help you out, from an amateur who's never done any screenwriting. Here's the line. Teela, when I was at my lowest, you didn't lose hope. You were strong. You helped keep me alive. You know, I thank you for that. And Teela's response is, Dad, that's what you brought me up to do. I couldn't have done that without you making me the person that I am now. That's a great scene because it's about virtue in individuals. It's about love. It's about supporting one another. Yeah, of course women can be strong, and men need them to be strong here and there, for sure. You know, we bear a lot of the brunt of life on our shoulders to try to protect our families, our children, our friends, but we can't be strong all the time. Men fall. You will see this for sure with people dealing with addiction. You will see this for sure with men who have gone through combat, you know, and need the support of their brothers to get through that stuff. That kind of stuff is absolutely 100% great when you're talking about manhood and trying to make sure that boys, girls, and etc. understand what this is, that being a man is not about drinking beer, watching football, and driving a big truck, you know. And yes, there is toxic behavior that some men do. Also women, by the way, which Evil-Lyn would be a great example of toxic femininity, manipulating people to get what she wants. Skeletor, the toxic masculine bully, punching people around. We get a female character in this who is a bully to Adam, and that's just fine. That's her strength, was bullying him when he was little. What? That's totally at odds with the kind of stuff that we're trying to learn from this movie. So the last about 30, 35 minutes makes this tonal shift, and it sucks. And the dialogue they ramp the cringy shit up way high. Really horrible dialogue. You get this moment where they bring in Queen's Princes of the Universe song, right? Which first and foremost, it is a song that was written for another movie, which they're making something out right now. Bringing it into a different movie, kind of weird. Also, you hired The Darkness to create this Masters of the Universe song. You hear it at the very end of the credits. This is where that song should have played. The music from that song, you see it tied in through the whole movie, the whole thing. but we don't actually get the song, and that's where you could have gotten the song. But okay, you bring in Queen. Awesome. Brian May playing some guitar. And I think maybe he played on the Darkness song. I'm not sure. And they ruin it. I mean, first of all, they don't do a very good job of adapting the action to the music. And they chop the song up a bit. So it doesn't have the good flow that it had. You know, hey, maybe Queen knew how to do the song better than you guys do. Just a guess. But they do the sort of, they bust out of this prison and they're walking and they're looking cool. And then all of a sudden there's smoke all over the place. I think it's supposed to stink or something. And they start coughing. And of course, for the second time, we get to see somebody vomit. Please stop doing that in movies. It's not clever, funny, etc. And if there are people out there who think it is, go seek professional help. It's not. It sucks. But it completely spoils the vibe of the song. That is sort of heroic, triumphant. We're back together and we're rallying and we're going to make this happen. And here comes the friggin' MCU garbage to subvert everything. And then they recover. So why did we do that in the first place? It didn't make any difference. And they fight a bunch of guards. And also, couple continuity things. They had to bust out of this prison cell. It involved heavy machine gun fire. And about, I don't know, maybe 100 feet away, the guards didn't hear any of that. Really. One of them, I think, thought he heard something, but should have been a little louder. The other one was, they got Roboto in this thing with what's her name, Kristen Wiig doing the voice. Not good, honestly. They hook up with it after Adam first gets to Eternia. It's with them. They make their escape in that Tila's ship. It was like that Hawk ship. They did a pretty good job on that. You don't really see the robot at that point. It's big. It's not something that's just sort of, I don't remember seeing it. And somewhere through the action sequence, my brain kind of kicked in and goes, oh, the robot's not there. Maybe they left it behind or something. I don't know. After they're on the ground again, there's some scenes, Tila, Man-at-Arms, Adam talking, decent stuff. I don't see a robot. In fact, that's when it really occurred to me. I'm like, they could really use the robot for doing X, Y, and Z. And then they decide, we've got to go deal with Skeletor. And the robot's there. And I'm like, where the hell did the robot come from? Either I missed it or it was a continuity error. Unless they were trying to do something funny like in old cartoons where stuff disappears but I don't think that was the case. Anyways, so we get the final bit. Clumsy humor, subversion of the stuff we've seen earlier in the film. It felt like we got a good movie and then Amazon said, no. We gotta Rings of Power this baby up. Some of the lessons are still there and important and good. But again, they bring in the collectivist, identitarianism, which ruins them because they don't really understand the principles that they're trying to promote at that point. At least the person who wrote it didn't. Clumsy, clunky dialogue. Very heavy-handed. People become caricatures at that point. And again, and they do the whole idiotic Thor Mjolnir thing that they did in Thor Ragnarok, but it's kind of late. It didn't make sense in Thor Ragnarok either, but it certainly doesn't make sense here. And look, one of the writers was involved with Shang-Chi and with Wonder Woman 1984, and I'm like, that's probably where some of this stuff came from. Maybe I'm wrong. Filmation did a far superior job of teaching lessons in a good way where they didn't have to trash anybody back in the 1980s with that cartoon. That seemed childish to me, that I now understand is significantly more mature than what a lot of Hollywood people are capable of writing in this day and age. And you get more of the jokes. They wanted to work in dirty jokes so badly, and it doesn't make sense. So they've decided that Adam, while he's on Earth, has given nicknames to all of these different people that he knew on Eternia. Now, I presume he knew their actual names because he was 10 and he wasn't a moron. At 10, you can learn the names of the great heroes of Eternia. But we got to pretend that he didn't know any of their names at all. So he had to come up with them. And this is the source of some of the funny names that you have of Masters of the Universe characters, right? But just let it be that way. No, we got to. So Ram Man, because you're a man and you ram into things. Okay. Fisto. All right. Now, why would you name a guy Fisto who has a giant metal fist? Maybe because he has a giant metal fist. No. It's because he fisted things. Fisted things. Okay. Unless Adam is, a congenital idiot, he would know that the term for that is punching things, not fisting things. Punching things. When you kick somebody, you don't say you footed them. You say you kicked them. When you punch somebody, it's punching them. But they really want to be able to have fisting jokes in a movie for kids. So they clumsily do that. Oh, it was bad. It sucked, frankly. The humor. So I went into this thing. I'm about 2/3 in, and I'm like, I kind of like this movie. I'm really surprised. I'm happy, delighted. I took it from like a 4 out of 5 stars to a 3 out of 5 stars in the last 30 minutes. And by God, I was close to going 2 out of 5 stars. Because some of that stuff was just bad. It's just bad. Dude, again, if you want to teach your friggin' ideology, at least teach it well. At least work it into a script that makes sense. It falls apart sort of at the end. It didn't completely ruin it for me, but and there's a long thing with Skeletor, and it's like, oh God, is this over yet? That's when it felt like the movie was getting long. I was really surprised. It's a long movie, but for most of it, I felt the pacing was pretty good and it wasn't bothering me. Boy, that last 30 minutes, I'd take about 20 of them out of it. I mean, I'd cut full friggin' scenes and a lot of lines. And I think you'd have a much, much better film that would have gotten probably better word of mouth overall moving forward. And this movie needs it because it's looking at about a $30 million opening. My guess would be this thing is going to maybe pull in $250 to $350 million. And I'd probably at this point lean towards the 250. But we'll see if the word of mouth is good enough. If parents are a little annoyed at some of the cursing and stuff, maybe not, but all right. But it probably needs to make in the neighborhood of $500 to $600 million to break even. And I don't think it's going to get anywhere near there. So this movie will probably be a flop, but there was a good movie in there. They just blew it at the end. I don't know who came in and did that writing, because it doesn't feel like the writing I saw earlier in the story. And I could be totally wrong about that. I don't know who's responsible for that, but they really need to probably never be brought into a movie like this ever again for the rest of their lives, because they ruined it for me. Inasmuch, again, I came away, I didn't hate the movie still, but I hated that end part a lot. The rest of it is still pretty solid and was fun, and I think was hitting the right vibe and the right feel. Just didn't quite make it, didn't stick the landing, and purposely didn't stick the landing. There's failure where you try and you don't quite get there. And then there's, let's subvert it. Let's do some shitty things to the male characters. And then they try to sort of parody the cartoon at the end. So they have the characters and somebody says something and they all laugh. I don't mind that so much, but it's been a much more subtle sort of, very light parody up until then. Like, it's more like there's cool little Easter egg thingies. The clothes that He-Man is wearing as Adam, it kind of works, some of that stuff. This was just full-on parody, but you hadn't really been doing that for the rest of the movie. Not in that way. So it felt forced at the end. And then they do this whole thing with, there's problem in the Avion Village. Hey, it's Stratos, right? He'd be cool to see. They didn't get to see him in this one. I don't know that we're going to get a friggin' sequel, but... So He-Man's got to go deal with it. So Adam excuses himself and Cringer so he could go transform. And everybody's like, I mean, he knows, we all know that he's actually He-Man, right? Like, why does he do, well, just let, but you're going, so maybe this guy is a congenital idiot because he obviously knows he's transformed in front of people. He's never stopped calling himself Prince Adam while he's He-Man. In fact, they have to add the thing at the end of where he came up with this name for himself of He-Man because it's like a really masculine thing and they're all making fun of it. It's the worst excesses that you've seen from like James Gunn, from Taika Waititi, those folks all packed into the end of the movie. Very unwelcome and didn't need to be there. And they didn't need to do that bit. They could have just had him, you know, come on, Cringer, and let's go take care of business. And maybe everybody else is like, yeah, let's go fight some bad guys. And it'd be a lot more fun than this really heavy-handed, cringy, clumsy thing that they did at the end. That's clumsy. It's just the word for the end of this movie. And it's really, really sad. It didn't have to be that way. Post-credits, if anybody's interested in this. And I'll take the spoilers off once we're done with this last bit. Yeah, you do get to see a little bit of Orko giving the lesson of the thing that muscles don't always make you right. Fine, okay. But then he says, but when a guy with a skull face is almost always going to be the villain. And you're like going, that actually is the opposite of a lesson they would have taught on the old cartoon where they say, don't judge people by their appearance, judge them by what they do. And so they kind of screwed that up too. And then you get a little post-credit thing with She-Ra, although they kind of make sure you don't see her face. So that means they probably haven't cast anybody yet and they've left it open that they can. Didn't see as much mockery there. That's weird. And then at the very end, we get Evil-Lyn picking up Skeletor's skull that's left, and we hear his echoing laughter. Okay. So overall, like about the first couple acts, 2/3 of the movie or so, I liked it. And I see all the people saying they liked it, and it's not woke. It's not for that part of the movie. It really isn't. It's kind of what you'd want in a movie these days. And the people complaining about the woke and complaining about all of these other things, yeah, that's the end of the movie. They're right too. It's 2 movies combined. Take that last part out, rework it, get rid of some lines, etc., and you got yourself a solid little fun adventure film with a nice lesson about, that it isn't enough to be powerful. Power unrestrained is a problem. That's Skeletor. That's even He-Man learning to use his power for good. That's good stuff. And about, what it means to be a good man. But the focus there is not on the fact that you're a man, but on being virtuous and good. That's important stuff, and there's some of that in there. Then they blow it at the end. So that's my review of the Masters of the Universe movie. I'm not sorry that I saw it. I'm really not. And there were some good things in it. But I really wish it had ended better. And I don't know if there's a particular person who's responsible for that. I'd love to know who they are. And I'd love to kick their ass out of Hollywood. Go back and do some subversive indie films or something like that. But you sir suck. But if it was a group effort, then you all kind of suck because you had something great and you blew it. But just the tone shift is so dramatic to me. Like I'm kind of sitting there going, what? What's happening here? That I feel like it was somebody else rewrote some things to make it more in Amazon's image. And shame on you, Amazon. Shame on you. And yes, you guys probably are going to lose 200 to maybe, even $300 million on this thing. I hope it was well worth it. And I hope people go, they got plenty of money. That's not how corporations work. They never have plenty of money. They never have enough money. Because, it's sort of like no honor among thieves. People got to be paid off really nicely or it starts to bite you in the ass. So there we go, folks. Masters of the Universe. Man, what a lost opportunity. What a lost opportunity. And I feel bad for the folks who put some really good work into it early on. I was really surprised how much I was enjoying this movie. I really was surprised. And kind of dashed me at the end. So, not a lot of deliveries to the den this week, but I did get one that I pre-ordered a while ago, and it is Nancy for All Seasons, Ernie Bushmiller's Nancy comics. I am a late admirer. That makes it sound like I died. Whoops, there's a sticker fell out too. Here's a little bit of the book. You can see it's your basic reprinted comic strips. I came to Ernie Bushmiller's humor later in life. I didn't remember really looking much at Nancy when I was a kid reading comic strips in the paper. I had other favorites, but they've been posted on Twitter. And I kind of really dig these. There's a weird sense of humor there. And I've rather become a fan. So this is the second Nancy compilation I've bought from Fantagraphics. By the way, they did a fantastic job of packaging this thing, wrapped in this brown paper, looked really nicely done. They included this little Nancy sticker, but a really nice presentation, which you expect from Fantagraphics anyways. But good stuff. Glad I pre-ordered it. I'm reading through it now, and I'll probably post some random panels here on my Twitter account as I go. So that's really the only kind of delivery that showed up recently in the den. Let's look at some coming attractions. Comic book wise, coming out this next week, the only thing I saw that really caught my eye is Tigress Island, because I've been buying the series. This is issue 4 out of 5, so they're almost done with that. It's I've talked about it a little bit. It seems like you should be like, but it's pretty darn good. I've really liked it. I like the art. Has a very, like I said, kind of like 70s, 80s European stuff like you would see in heavy metal. It kind of works. Interesting characters. They're in a terrible situation they're trying to get out of. I've enjoyed it. I was surprised. I heard a good thing about it from somebody. I'd passed it up. I went back and grabbed the first issue. And I was like, yeah, okay. I kind of get it. It feels like a 70s exploitation movie to some degree, but maybe a little bit better than that. It's bloody. There's, some nudity and stuff. So it is that kind of book. Be aware. But honestly, pretty good. So I've stuck with it. I grabbed the first issue because I figured I don't have to buy any more if I don't want to. But it's pretty decent. So that's coming out this next week. But I didn't see a whole lot that really interested me, even in terms of facsimiles. And this last week was the same way. Mezco's 112 Mighty Thor. Good looking figure. Up for pre-order at Entertainment Earth, maybe elsewhere. Delivery is January 2027, and it is $105. So dear old dad ain't buying this Thor. I'm probably going to try to pick up a Marvel Legends one at some point, because he is one of my official favorite Marvel characters, along with, the Thing. But I'll probably grab it at some point. But nice looking figure, though. I mean, it's a lot of money, but at least it's a good looking figure. A lot of little cool things that go with it, but you can find that right now on Entertainment Earth. Except for $105, delivery January of 2027. It sounds like there's a Marvel Legends Doc Samson figure coming up for pre-order later this month. This is via In Demand Toys. They kind of talked about this story. This is definitely something I'm interested in. If they are going to do this, I love Doc Samson. So the first superhero comic I ever owned in my life is a ratty Hulk comic, no cover. I have no idea where this came from, but as long as I can remember, I had it. And Doc Samson's in it. So my first knowledge of comic book Hulk, and really I knew him probably better from the old TV show with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. But my first introduction to comic book Hulk was comic book Hulk with Doc Samson. And so maybe because of that, Doc Samson has always loomed large in my mind as being friggin' really cool looking. So if this indeed is coming up for pre-order, I am absolutely going to buy one of those. I guarantee. White Elephant Toys, who's done cool stuff with the G.I. Joe action team thing, resurrecting, that kind of look and that kind of feel, and also, bodies that people could use to replace the broken ones on the old toys, because the way they manufactured them, the bodies fell apart. So you can find them now still on card in pieces because they disintegrated, basically. So this was their idea of like, we can provide bodies that are the right scale for people to, fix their old toys, but also kind of create a little line. And it's really cool. Well, they're bringing back also Action Jackson, which was originally a Mego figure. I actually have several of them. Can you see them on the, man, if you really look back there above that lamp, you might be able to see them. No, I think they're a little off camera and I can't really. There, you can just see him in the corner up there. Action Jackson. Okay. So they're bringing back Action Jackson. Now this isn't out there for you just yet, but they got like the molds from China figured out. There's the other dude, Starkers at the moment, but you get an idea. And Iron Jaw will be among them. And that's like, I'm definitely, yeah, it doesn't look like Carl Weathers. There was a black Action Jackson doll though. Oh, action figure. Sorry. But Iron Jaw, I'm like, oh dude, I'm getting that for absolute certain. I mean, for one thing, there was a character just like that in the old, it wasn't Daredevil. It was Boy Comics. What was the character? He wore like, he fought crime and he wore like his hockey like outfit, like the sweater and stuff. Why can't I think of what that dude was called? Maybe somebody out there will know. Anyway, but there was an Iron Jaw in that, but this is just a cool friggin' bad guy figure. So, keep your eyes open for that at White Elephant Toys. Good folks. I follow them on Twitter and such. And, they do some great stuff. They're involved with that, Lincoln Mini Monsters project. I'm so excited to get those. I can't wait. Dan Thompson is a comic book guy who does some pretty cool stuff. He did a adventure sort of comic called Squid Williams. He has a sort of mid-century look to him, 60s, 70s. I'm one of his patrons on Patreon. It ain't much, and you get some really, really, really cool stuff that you can see that he does. So he's been working on some comics that are really throwbacks. Oh, I still got the spoiler sign up. Jesus Christ. That are throwbacks on to like the kind of comics you used to read in the newspaper back in the day. They have that feel to them. Stuff kind of like High and Lois and I don't know, Beetle Bailey, that kind of stuff. Which is just, again, it's nostalgia for me, but I also just like them. So he's going to maybe do this thing, and he's kicking around these ideas, but I wanted to throw it out there, called Comic Stew Quarterly. Right now, planned for about 170 pages of this kind of stuff, with some adventure stuff thrown in there as well. So comedy adventure. Like here's one of the characters, Typhoon Calhoun, where that's him in the Fountain of Youth. He's like a pirate who gets turned young, old pirate. And here's Hotcakes and Hash Brown, which he's been developing on his Patreon. Really fun stuff, really cool stuff. I love the look of it. And he's also got a character. He had to change the name because the initial name he chose was being used by somebody else. It's not coming to me now, but it's like this, true crime kind of story in Miami. And it's really nice, really well done. And I'm hoping that'll see the light of day soon. And that's why he had a few things he's been playing with. And he thought, what if I bring them all together in a Kickstarter and do it this way? So we'll see. But you might want to check it out. And you definitely, if you like this kind of stuff, go check out Dan Thompson. You can find him on Twitter. You can find his Patreon out there if you do a little search. He does really cool stuff. Just really cool stuff. He does stuff that just makes me happy to look at it, frankly. And that's not a bad thing in this day and age. Couple more toys that have popped up. Kamen Rider. I love these. Like Japanese TV shows have these super long names when they're translated into English. The toys do often as well. Kamen Rider Masked Rider 1, Legendary Showa Masked Riders Edition, Shinkochu Seiho SH Figuarts action figure. If you go to, it's either Big Bad Toy Story or Big Bad Toy Store or Entertainment Earth. I can't remember, but that was the title of this figure. It is $90, so a little out of my price range. Arriving in January 2027, 5 3/4 inches tall, but very cool. And I really dig the initial Kamen Rider with the initial guy playing him, and they switch mid-season. And I didn't like the other dude quite as much, but Kamen Rider's fun, and it's cool, and it's a great look. And the Japanese tokusatsu were just amazing. So creative. I mean, the plots oftentimes are not creative, but the characters and the looks and the powers and all the stuff, it's so cool, and it's so toyetic. And they just made some of the neatest stuff ever. Some of the most fun toys ever. You go through one after another. Because, God, is it Toei? I think the one's doing it. They got like a thing on YouTube with a lot of their stuff, and they do some live streams, but they have like, first maybe 2 episodes of a lot of these old series, so you can at least get a taste of them. There's so much cool stuff. So the tokusatsu stuff is great. So you might want to look at that. $90 was a little too much for me for that size figure. And then I think this was also, God, just like a Big Bag Toy Store and Entertainment Earth right there. The G.I. Joe Classified Deluxe Cobra Commander in his dress uniform on his golden throne, 6-inch action figure, but you do get a lot of junk with it. $70. So, not that bad, especially if you're a G.I. Joe fanatic. You're going to want this in your little collection. Shipping October of 2026, but it is honestly a pretty damn cool figure. It's not something I'm going to get because I don't really have room for it, and I don't want to spend that money on it, but I do want to get a Cobra Commander figure, because I got a few of the Joes from that original wave. That's what I had as a kid. I've tried to put a few together in that classified, scale. So I do want to get a Cobra Commander at some point. I remember I sent away for him. I collected my flag points off of the old cards, and I sent away for my free Cobra Commander. Dude, that was awesome. And then I sent away for another one because it was the only offering they had, and I had the flag points. So I still have my 2 original Cobra Commander figures. They're sitting up there on a shelf, and you ain't seeing them right now. But I have shown them a few times. And I did a video about them way long ago on my channel. And that, folks, is pretty much it for the coming attractions. So I think we have reached the end of this particular live stream. Of course, it'll still be available to watch, assuming I haven't been shut down because of Gudetama's butt crack. But he's an egg yolk. It's okay. He's an egg yolk. It's fine. One last thing. Favorite thing I saw on the internet this week was actually, I just saw yesterday. Apparently, there's a new replacement for the Concorde in development. Supersonic flight. They're trying to find a way to do it without the sonic boom that caused a lot of problems. Because at one point, there were about 3 different designs that were going to be used by airlines in the United States to move people very rapidly around. Supersonic was the way of the future, period. And then they started using them over cities. Well, maybe not those airplanes, but doing supersonic stuff over cities to test how much it might annoy people. And you got a lot of broken windows and a lot of pissed off people because it was just pow, 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 a lot. And they killed it. And so you got the Concorde, because the Concorde reached its speeds of that nature over the Atlantic Ocean. It slowed down by the time it got to the United States to land in New York. So it worked, but it didn't work anywhere else, and nobody else really used it. Well, they're looking at bringing it back. And so somebody, and yes, they used AI for this, but they made this little advertisement for Aurora Airways. I think Aurora is one of the names of the things they've been testing. The world moves fast, so do we, with that retro sort of future look that you kind of just go, it would have been fun. But as somebody who's researched some of that period, their version of the retro future looks a little bit like the version modern day globalists have. A lot of central control. That was part and parcel. So we didn't get the friggin' flying cars and jetpacks, but we also didn't get, at least until recently, so much centralized control over our lives in America. So yeah, the retro future has some pros and there's some cons. Just be aware of that. But that I thought was a really fun, cool image that somebody made, and it kind of takes you back to, just optimistic times in the 1960s and what people thought we were going to get. And didn't quite get there, Okay, hey, we got Sid and Marty Krofft instead. That was okay. That, folks, will do it for Dad's Den of Pop Culture today. Fabrizio, thanks for popping by. Lady Wendolyn, of course, and everybody who was watching, even if you weren't in the chat, thank you for being there. But hey, next time, jump in the chat if you want to. I love a little back and forth. It's fun. Even if you want to come in and tell me that my take on Masters of the Universe is stupid or what have you, that's cool too. As long as you're not like too abusive. I can take a little, but I don't want to take a lot on my own channel. But thank you everybody for tuning in who did. And that will do it for us. God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. I think I'm going to go maybe check out the comic shop because I think they got some back issues restocked that I might want to look at. We'll see. But I hope you have a really good week ahead. And I hope you tune back in to Dad's Den. Oh, yeah, this week we'll have another Mighty Thor Monday. And I think I'm going to get my really ridiculously probably long video on Archie Comics and all the clones and rivals that it had. It started as a simple little project that ballooned, but kind of fun and some kind of interesting stuff that I discovered while I was researching it. And you're going to see lots of, good girl art and, well, you won't get the dad jokes, but you'll get the good girl art. And that's really the main thing. So tune in this week. You'll see that. Bye, everybody. Have fun.